Okay, so today we will be analyzing the banking sector of Pakistan, and we have like a predefined format in which we will be consolidating the financial statement, the profit and loss account, the balance sheet, and the certain ratios. We will be also calculating certain important ratios specific to banking sector, and we have like multiple years of data. So we have very comprehensive information of the entire banking industry. Please bear in mind we are not talking about a single bank. Rather, we are talking about the entire industry where we have multiple banks, as you can see. So as you can hover over the specific ratios, you can get the details of the components of the ratio, the denominator, denominator, and the purpose for which this ratio is calculated. Okay, so we also have sector-wise information. We've broken down the entire financial statements into sectors: the public sector bank, the private sector bank, foreign banks, and specialized banks. So for example, if we open like private sector banks, we drill down, we have like all the banks, and we have consolidated both the KPI portion as well as and the financial statements into one format. For the purpose of this analysis, we can choose like multiple banks for the purpose of analysis, Allied Bank as well as Al Baraka Bank. So here we go. We can also perform like an overall analysis of by selecting a segment of banks. Not all banks might be your competitors, but having a combination of certain banks might be a best fit for your competition. Okay, so you also notice that I have added all those banks, and the percentages are perfectly reflecting for the consolidated results. It is not an additive measure. I mean, the spread could not be more than 100%. If we add like 30% spread of Al Baraka into 30% Allied Bank, so it will be more than 100%. But that's how it's calculated the D3 and D1. So D is here, we have like D3 net markup interest income, and D1 is markup interest income. So D3 divided by D1. This is the D section, this is A section, B section. So that's how it is referenced, and you can easily decode all the amounts here. And by the way, this could be performed for the entire sector. For example, for public sector banks, what is the performance of the overall this sector. Okay, so we also have graphs where we have combined like two parameters that we can set. In this case, we are combining deposits accounts with advances, because we found that there is a direct relationship of these components in the banking industry. So we have also analyzed, I've also placed the average policy rates in this yellow dotted line, and we have closing policy rates at the end of each period in this blue dotted line, so that we can compare like multiple income and expenses heads. Let me calculate for markup income and markup expense. Okay, so this is markup income earned. Let us compare it with markup expense. Here we go. Okay, so in this section we have markup expense. So as you can see, we compare markup income and markup expense. It is very relative to each other, as well as with the policy rates of the entire sector. You can specify a specific bank if you wish. I found that Mizan Bank performed very well in this entire industry. Okay, so that's how you can perform like each segment. If we like remove the search bar, we have all the banks, and we can combine the private sector performance with the public sector performance, and we can also perform like some banks with other banks, and this is depending on the two different heads that you will be selecting. But there were some weaknesses in this analysis, because it is silent on the market share of that specific bank with respect to industry. So that's why I need to prepare some other analysis as well. For example, if we're talking about Nizam Bank, we notice that it is silent on what proportion of that Nizam Bank as compared to the entire industry. So for that we need like pie chart. We're performing the same analysis, one with deposit and other accounts and the gross advances. Okay, so we noted that Nizam Bank has like 7.7% share of deposits of entire industry in 2023. This is all on the latest year's figure. Okay, so as for the advances side, we have almost the same percentage of market share of Nizam Bank within this. However, if you look at to HBL, it has the gross advances of 13.4% and yes, so we have like all other analysis as well. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the ABC analysis. Okay, so this is a very good analysis. It consolidates the results of the top performing banks into like up to 70%, which conform to 70% of the industry, and the banks which are contributing only the rest of the 22%, and the remaining 10% is consolidated into C category. If we select that 70% of the industry, we have like these 8 banks. These 8 banks conform to almost 66% of the industry. So if we look at like investments portion, and within each category we can analyze those specific ratios and those categories for each year that we select. So if we select like multiple years, let us see the downgrading and upgrading of those banks. Okay, so we have like noticed that Allied Bank is no longer the part of the competition. I mean the top A banks as far as the investments are concerned in 2023 because it's missing. So there must be some other bank who has stolen its position, and those remaining banks form the biggest percentage within 2023. Okay, so that's good, and but still we do not have any ranking of those banks. So let's also try the other sheets. Okay, so again move back to investments. What we want is we want like top banks within each category. Okay, informed banks in each sector. Let us talk about the first top 2 banks. So only the top 2 banks in each category will be filtered. For the purpose of this specific analysis, we can see that these are the top 2 banks within each category. Rather than the composition of 70% that I showed you earlier, it only specifying the ranking within each category. Okay, so if we want to invest in the top 2 public sector banks, for example, then we have like the top 2 banks and the top 2 in private sector, so we can like notice their move, what investments they are making, and the small banks may follow their footsteps. But still there is a weakness in this analysis that the total investments of the entire industry is not reflected herein. Out of that we need to separate those 2 or 5 banks. So let us move to next sheet. What we have to answer. Okay, so again let's move to investments. Okay, so here we go, we have investments, and in this case we have like the total of all investments, and top 5 banks that I will be defining here are shown here, and the remaining all the banks are combined into as one chunk and to match the entire figure. Okay, so let's talk about the first 10 banks. So this is totally dynamic, and the top 10 banks are selected, and accordingly the remaining percentage is decreased. So if we select the top 10 banks that perform the major portion of the industry of investments, and if we talk about assets and like the gross advances, how much of the banks have okay, so again the same, top 5 banks have like the major portion, almost half of the percentage of the entire industry, So that's how these TopN and others have working. And in case you have any doubts, you can hover over the portion where you are not aware of. For example, in case of ABC analysis, you hover here, you can get the detail of all the information and the purpose of performing this specific analysis. Same goes for transition matrix. Okay, so if you move here and you see the what's the purpose. This is one of my favorite analysis. Let us select the period of COVID. I have selected the starting years 2019, and we now need to focus only on the banks which were showing increasing trend in 2029. So let us monitor their performance after the COVID. Okay, so we noticed that total of 27 banks was showing increasing trend as we have specified here. We can also specify other conditions, but I want to show the downgrading of banks due to COVID. Okay, so we noticed that just next year we have like 8 banks which are showing decreasing trend. And in which segment I am talking about the profitability. So let's talk about the profit before tax, so we do not take the impact of taxation. Okay, so these 8 banks are filtered out here, which are showing that less than 100% than the previous year. So this is a declining performance. Okay, so only one bank was showing a stable category, which is also filtered here once you press here. Okay, so and 17 banks are like unaffected with the COVID, and the same performance goes on for next year. However, from 2022, I think this market emerged again, and the same banks also performing very good. So out of this 26 bank, 23 of the banks would remain their position from 2022. It's major due to the increase of policy rates that was directly related with the bank's performance. And one analysis that the correlation of all the industry among different variables. For example, if we are talking about bills payable in x-axis and bills payable in the y-axis, we have 100% correlation. Okay, so these are the parameters that we can set here. Let us talk about markup income. Okay, so we have like markup income earned, and then we compare it like with the markup expense. Okay, here we go. You need to follow the structure of the banking sector so that you get aware with all this. And now I am talking about only the specialized bank. Let's talk about the entire industry, not any one bank. So the correlation is very handy. I mean, the markup expense to markup income ratio perfectly correlated with each other. There are certain other ratios that we can combine, like a spread ratio. So this is spread. Okay, so we have like a spread with markup expense negative correlation. Let us talk about efficiency ratios, and I have some other items which are inversely related to the spread. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so these two ratio form like exactly inverse relation in the markup expense to markup income, and the spread is like the net income that you generate from after meeting the markup expenses. So it is inverse of exactly inverse of a spread. So that's why it's showing like 100% decline. So you can perform this specific analysis for like a set of ratios, all the efficiency ratios with all like other ratios, so we can have a better idea that the red ones are the negative correlated and the green ones are the highly correlated. Cash dividend has direct relationship with earning per share, that which definitely makes sense. So that goes on for all the, if you like these type of videos, please do let me know. I will make a specific ratios, specific videos tailored for the chartered accountants, and they will be able to use the Power BI for their analysis. And we have like all the navigation of the entire dashboard. I can analyze one industry at a time on your request. If you need to prepare the entire financial statements of your bank in the same format, we can also have one video over it. And if you wish to get access to this specific dashboard, please do let me know in the comment section. I will leave a link to that dashboard and I will publish it to the web so that you can analyze it and you play with it. And please do let me know with your feedback. In case you find any further information, do let me know. I will try to definitely incorporate in that. So that's it for today. Goodbye. Thanks a lot.